The You ever put everything into something and watch absolutely nothing change? You're up before sunrise, grinding harder than everyone around you, and still, the results just aren't there. Days bleed into weeks, the hustle turns into exhaustion, and you start questioning if any of it even matters. Life doesn't play fair with timing. You watch people blow past you while you're stuck in the same spot, doing the same work, praying it'll finally click. But what if the wait isn't wasted time? What if it's actually building you into someone unbreakable? This is about a kid who figured out that the things that take the longest to grow are usually the ones that last forever. His name was Darren, and his whole world changed when he stopped running from the one thing nobody wants to deal with. Darren grew up in this small town by the river, the kind of place known for one thing, pottery. Every home had a kiln going, and the whole place smelled like baked clay. His old man used to be the best potter around, taught him everything about working with earth and fire. Darren was in his early 20s, full of big dreams and even bigger energy. Heat wanted to sell hundreds of pots to the next town over, make a name for himself. So he moved fast. Faster than anyone. Spinning, shaping, firing, jumping from one piece to the next. But the faster he pushed, the more things fell apart. Clay cracked. Handles snapped off. Colors came out all wrong. Still, Darren kept racing. "I can't sit around for days waiting for these to dry," he said one morning. "I'll miss my shot at the market." His dad just watched him for a minute before speaking up. "Clay only listens to time, son. You rush it, it breaks." Darren shook his head. "Meh, but maybe that worked back in your day, Pops. But people want things now." His father just smiled. "Time hasn't changed, Darren." "We have." Darren didn't say anything back. He turned to his wheel, pressing harder, spinning faster. Too. He wanted to prove that patience was overrated, that hustle and speed were all you needed. But by the end of that day, 4 of his new pots had shattered in the kiln. He stood there staring at the broken pieces, feeling angry and embarrassed. His dad didn't lecture him. Just said, "Every craft's got a rhythm. You can fight it or learn it." Darren stayed quiet, swept up the broken pieces, and started over. But something inside him was screaming. Next morning, the town crier announced the big harvest festival was coming, the biggest event all year. Winner of the craft competition got a spot at the major trade market. Darren's eyes lit up. "This is it," he said. "Oh, make 100 pots, and I'm finally on the map." His father looked at him with those calm eyes. "Make 10, that last. Everything else will follow." But Darren wasn't hearing it. He was already back at the wheel, hands flying, clay spinning. He worked all day, but rushing made him sloppy. He didn't check if the clay was ready. He threw pots into the kiln too soon. By nighttime, his shelves were loaded with pieces that looked perfect until the heat hit them. One by one, they started cracking. Darren sat on the floor, hands covered in clay, and for the first time, he didn't feel proud of being fast. He just felt worn out. The next few days were rough. Darren was up early, working late, barely eating. He made dozens of pots, rushed the drying, stacked them by the kiln. His dad walked by quietly, watching him sprint through everything. "Let the air do its job," he said softly. "Even fire respects patience." Darren wiped sweat off his face. "If I slow down, I lose everything." That night, he fired 20 pots at once, stood there in the dark with the kiln glowing orange. He felt like he was finally winning. But when morning came and he opened that door, his smile died. Most of the pots were cracked. Some had blown apart completely. His mum heard the noise and came running. He just stood there, staring at the wreckage, couldn't even speak. Dad picked up one of the broken pieces, turned it slowly in his hands. This one needed more time. You didn't listen.
Darren's voice got loud. I worked harder than anybody. Why does nothing last? His dad said, because strength doesn't come from speed. It comes from patience. Darren didn't respond. He walked off, angry and humiliated. The whole town was whispering about it. He avoided the market, couldn't handle the stairs. A week later, he saw his dad in the town square setting up a little booth. On the table were just 3 pots, simple, clean, perfectly smooth. People stopped to look at them. One woman asked, "How long does something like this take?" The old man smiled. "As long as it needs." Darren stood in the crowd watching, and for the first time, he didn't feel jealous. He felt empty. He realized his dad wasn't rushing because he loved the work itself, not just the payoff. That night, Darren went back to his workshop. Shelves covered with broken pots everywhere. He sat down on the floor, staring at them in silence. He picked one up, ran his hand over the cracks, whispered, "I keep trying to win, but I never actually learn." He looked around the clay, the wheel, the tools, and for the first time, he didn't jump into action. He just sat there, thinking about what his dad had said. Then slowly he started again. This time he worked on one pot. He didn't rush it. Shaped it carefully, set it on the drying shelf, and walked away. Next morning, he checked it, adjusted the edge, and waited. Day after day, same process. Knead, shape, dry, wait. Fire. Village kids walked past his shop and laughed. "Only one pot, Darren? At this rate, you'll be done next year," he smiled back. "Maybe, but it'll actually last." His hands moved slower now, but way steadier. He was learning what he'd been fighting all along. Patience wasn't weakness, it was control. By the end of the month, Darren only had a few pots, but they were his best work. Smooth, balanced, solid. When he tapped one, it rang out clean. His dad came by, touched the rim, nodded. "Now the clay listens to you." Darren smiled a little. "Nah, Pops, I finally learned to listen to it." Weeks rolled by quietly. The sound of Darren's wheel came back in the mornings, but slower this time, steady, almost peaceful. He stopped rushing the fire, stopped stacking wet clay. He'd learned to wait. Then the announcement dropped. Harvest Festival was 1 week out. Posters went up all over town, everyone prepping their best stuff. The blacksmith was polishing iron gates. Weavers were dyeing new cloth. Kids rehearsing songs for the parade. Darren's dad looked at him. "You entering this time?" Darren nodded. "Yeah, but I'm only bringing what's actually ready." Every night he checked his small collection. No cracks, no chips, no signs of rushing. Each one told a story of quiet hands and long hours. Morning of the festival, he packed them in a cart with straw padding and walked slowly toward the square. He wasn't expecting to win. He just wanted to show what he'd learned. The square was alive with banners and music. Tables lined the streets, packed with handmade goods. When Darren showed up, people turned. "Darren the potter," someone called out. "Didn't your last batch all crack?" He smiled gently. "Yep, these took a little longer." He set up his table next to his dad's. Side by side, the two booths looked simple but solid. When people touched the pots, they noticed how smooth and balanced they felt. A merchant picked one up. "This feels legit. How'd you make it?" Darren said, "By learning to wait." Word spread fast through the crowd. People came back, curious about the young potter who used to rush everything. When the judges walked by, they stopped at Darren's table. One of them, an older guy with glasses, ran his hand across the clay. "This is solid work. How long did this take you?" Darren answered straight up, "Longer than I wanted." The judge smiled. That's usually how the best stuff gets made. At sunset, the mayor climbed a wooden stage and called for quiet. This year's award goes to the craftsman whose patience brought perfection to his work. He looked straight at Darren and his dad. The crowd turned and clapped. Darren just stood there, stunned. His dad put a hand on his shoulder, whispered, "See? Time listens too when we learn to wait." The mayor put a small silver coin in Darren's hand, the symbol of real craftsmanship. It wasn't the prize that hit him. It was what it meant. He finally understood what his dad had been trying to teach him all along. That night, walking home under the lanterns, Darren pushed his cart slowly down the dirt road. The sound of pots inside was soft and steady. He looked at his dad. "I used to think patience was just doing nothing. Now I know it's doing the right thing long enough to see it grow." His dad smiled quietly. "Then your hands learned what your heart was missing." The festival ended. The music faded. The square emptied. Life in town went back to its quiet rhythm. But inside Darren's workshop, something new stayed. He didn't work to impress anyone anymore. He worked because he loved the calm that came with doing one thing right. Every morning he shaped clay with steady hands. Every evening he cleaned his tools and left the bench ready for tomorrow. People noticed. When their pots cracked, they brought them to Darren. He fixed each one with care and a small smile. Old Mrs. Lopez said, "You've grown patient, kid." He replied, "I just learned that rushing breaks more than clay." Even travelers came to watch him work. He didn't say much, but his hands said everything. One afternoon, a kid asked, "Doesn't waiting get boring?" Darren answered, "If I rush, I start over. If I wait, I finish." Months passed, then years. Darren's workshop became known across nearby towns. He'd grown older, calmer. One evening, his dad came to visit. Looked around the small workshop, shelves lined with finished pots, everyone smooth and strong. He smiled quietly. "You've built more than clay, son. You've built peace." Darren nodded, voice gentle. "Nah, Pops, patience built it for me." Patience isn't about doing nothing. It's about working quietly while time does its part. It's having the strength to stay when everything in you wants to rush forward. Maybe you've been giving your best working, hoping, believing, and still the results haven't shown up. It's easy to think you've failed. But sometimes life slows us down because what we're building needs more time to grow. Patience doesn't mean standing still. It means showing up every single day, even when nobody's watching. It means trusting that the work you're putting in when it's silent still counts. When Darren stopped chasing speed, he found peace. And in that peace, he found real strength. He learned that patience isn't weakness, it's control. It's faith with discipline. The truth is, everything real takes time. A seed doesn't bloom overnight. The strongest trees grow during the quiet seasons when nobody's clapping. So if you're still waiting for your moment, don't quit now. Stay consistent. Keep your focus. Keep showing up. Because one day, all that quiet work you've been putting in will rise, not fast but solid. Patience doesn't need to shout. When it's done, the results speak louder than anything else.